Art start now. We're gonna make it just creative, put it down. Art start now. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Start now.
I Heart Girl is a collection of images of women that I know, and it sort of captures a moment in time of a collective shift I think that's occurring with women and being more gender fluid in our time. I think it's really important that we see what women look like, stripped down without sort of the attention that media gives to certain stereotypes. Femininity exists in men and in women. It's just Mother Nature, it's holistic, it's natural. It's a beautiful, pulsating force. With all of the work that I do, that's infused in it. I like tapping into that energy. I love that female energy that also has masculinity in it. So with all of my work, I think there's this sort of through line of androgyny, and that is very intriguing to me. With the images and the work that I'm doing, it's sort of just reinforcing that, people are individuals, women don't always look like this, women don't always look like that. It's far more diverse and fluid than one would even imagine. My hope is that I Heart Girl can influence the way that we think about women and body image and how we perform gender, and how maybe one day we'll live in a world where that's not even a consideration. You just are who you are. You get up, you go in your life, and you don't get held back by these ideas.
Sheesh, I love that. Oh my gosh.
I Heart
Hey,
Girl.
That was a blast from the past.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thanks for having me.
It's beautiful. And yeah, we're so happy to have you. I mean, I have to say, just for myself, right? For those who may not know you, you've been one of the coolest, parts of the deebies and the Nifty Castle community. More recently, you've been a leader on the Witchy GF team. So, our whole NFT experience would not be the same without you. So to have you here on the show, on Art Start Now, to hang out and dig into your art a little bit is a really, really cool thing. So yeah, that was obviously a video of your collection, your photography collection, I Heart Girl, which I believe is what is going to be going on to. Is that correct? And Fun Uncle, maybe you can pull up that tweet while she talks a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the I Heart Girl series, interesting. So when I entered the NFT space last year, I did put out a few collections from the I Heart Girl series, but it was actually my film work. So you guys know this, but for those who don't, I'm a New York-based artist. I am an activist. I'm an author. I'm primarily known for my film and photography specifically. And that work is exploring body politics, beauty, gender. And I did study as an applied artist. I'm formally trained as a painter in sculpture, performance art. And when I was doing my MFA, I was working on a photographic series where I was documenting subjects that eventually became two published photography monographs. The first one was I Heart Boy, and then the second one was I Heart Girl. And so I was always drawn to depicting the body. And last year, at the beginning of last year, at some point, I had taken some film work from the I Heart Girl series, the screen tests specifically, and kind of broke them up into different studies. And I put that out as my first collections. And then I also did a series of Polaroids that were never before seen, like test shots of the subjects that were in I Heart Girl. And so that's kind of how I came onto the scene as an NFT artist, I guess is what we're calling ourselves, even though I'm from like the IRL art world. And what something interesting with that was that I was just trying to see what kind of felt right to put out as an NFT with that work. Like I didn't come into the space thinking, oh, what work could I make for the space? I was like, oh my God, I have so much work to share. What medium would feel kind of cool to share this work? Or on this platform, what kind of work that I have. And so I started with the iHeart Girl screen test, and they found homes and people really enjoyed the work. But then I soon, realized that I feel very precious about this work and didn't want to continuously like keep putting out work. I wanted to kind of reflect and also try a few different things. So my Genesis piece, which was called Flesh Press Body Gaze, that was on Foundation. And that was kind of like the first piece that I ever put up. And then I had like something else that I put out that was kind of like this pop piece called, I don't even know if can I say this, because can you bleep it out? It's called Cunt Keeper.
You can say whatever you want.
So,
No, you just
it's called
do it.
Cunt Keeper.
That's fine.
Cunt Keeper?
This is
It's
art.
called Cunt Keeper?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like
this
a performance pop piece like that I made based off of my poetry, which I'm super stoked to talk about. So I was kind of experimenting with my film and a bit with my photography, but more motion based, and then dove into sharing my writing on the blockchain. So that's kind of how it all started. And then I come from a pretty intense background as an artist, like being the founder of a feminist collective called New York Femme Factory. So like keeping that in mind, what am I going to put out in the world in this new space that I am existing in now? And I began thinking a lot about legacy and what I was going to bring to the space. And yeah, so I started with the film. I moved on to the writing, and now I have some other things on the horizon that are already here now, I guess.
Thinking about the writing, maybe this is a good transition to talk about Pink Privacy, which is one of your
Yeah.
sold out collections. So yeah, Fun
Yeah.
Uncle, if you don't mind pulling that up. I'm actually very excited, to say that we have at least one or two of these poems on the blockchain, but maybe you just want to talk a little bit about the significance of this and how, these NFTs, poetry NFTs fit into your larger narrative as a writer.
Oh, yeah, that's good. User's manual. Everyone should read that. I was thinking a lot about autonomy and what the blockchain represents. And that book is called Pink Privacy, right? And everything is transparent on the blockchain. So I thought, oh, this is kind of funny. Why don't I work with Nifty Kit to do what they call a blind mint, but I like to refer to it as an invisible reveal. So I took 160 unique poems from that book, the first poet to do this, and on Nifty Kit specifically, and mint 160 of these poems, and nobody knew what they were getting. So until the reveal date, they all revealed and everybody saw which one they got.
These pink ones that are redacted. These are examples of ones that have not been revealed. Like people just haven't updated their metadata. So
yeah, they haven't refreshed.
Like. Yeah, as the invisible when they were all minted, and then you can see the ones that have been revealed.
Yes, yeah. So I thought that was like a nice touch, because they're kept private until they're revealed. And that's something that I thought would be really exciting. And also because this project was published the way it was, put out into the world the way it was, I traveled with this work in a very particular way. I think I wanted to make sure that this work was deployed on its own smart contract. And I like really, really believe in artists minting their work on their own smart contracts, and really a big advocate for that. And so I think like this was just like the dopest way to put this work out. and people received it in really embraced it and didn't ask too many questions, and I thought, wow, this is really exciting. What else can I build in this space? And I think just to kind of jump back really quickly to I Heart Girl, with Coinbase, what I am going to be putting out with them is also going to be on a smart contract. So I'm doing Manifold. I don't know, is this too geeky to talk about this?
Oh,
But
please.
No, I
So
think
one
it's
thing,
really important, for one of the questions I was going to have is just asking you to extrapolate a little bit on your experience as a fine artist entering into the Web3 space and the nerdy,
yeah.
geeky side of it, what your experience was like creating your own custom smart contract. Because I know that there's a lot of people out there, a lot of artists that are very curious about that process.
Mhm. Well, I think it's essential. It gives you independence. It gives you, full rights and, what's the word? I just use the word autonomy. I think like that's the best way to describe it, so that you ultimately are controlling the collection and what platforms it does and doesn't go on. Should something happen to the collection. But the main thing that did attract me to it was, like I said, the autonomy part of it and having the independence. But I wanted the ability to invest in myself as an artist. So airdropping a collection of poems that I set aside for myself was something that I wanted to do. And so if you look deep into that collection, you'll see that I own X amount of the poems, because they're the poems that I read on at a live set. So I chose to hold those ones back and keep those for myself. So moving into Coinbase, I chose to do a manifold contract and not do it on their smart contract or on their contract, but rather do it on my own smart contract, because there's going to be 99 photos that are from the I Heart Girl book. And there are a set of photos that I would like to keep for myself, to exhibit, to share, to maybe pair it with, I don't want to give too much away, but to pair it with another artist who's collected some of the Polaroids and maybe bring it to a bigger arena. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So I think that artists should be thinking about that and, collecting their own work as well, or holding on to it so that they don't have to go chase it down after people have bought the collection completely out, and then you're now paying like 5 ETH to buy yourself back. So really, with a lot of intention, I think is like how I'm approaching dropping a collection of 99 photographs. So I'm really, really excited about that. And that's going to be like really big for me personally, because when that book came out, the book was revolutionary in its own way, because I was like showing women how they were. And I don't think society was really down with that, because I remember getting a lot of comments from people at the time like, oh, these women in this book aren't particularly attractive. But now when you look around, all you see is like body positivity and like, let it all hang out and like be who you are and like be comfortable in your skin. But when I put that book out, it was like I was at the forefront of something, but also receiving all the criticism for it, for not like putting out work that was like essentially sexualizing the female body and like delivering this like packaged, femme fatale, whatever people wanted to see. That's not how I was presenting the work. And also something very interesting. I know you might not know a lot about my first book, but that book is actually sold out IRL. And I've been tracking that book down and trying to buy copies of it because it's hard to find. But that book was received in a completely different way. And it's a book with nude men in it. And that book, if you go into a bookstore, will be in the male erotica section, but I Heart Girl will be in the art section. So that's just a little kind of footnote in a lot of stuff I've gone through in my career, and, dates way back to when I was in art school and almost kicked out for photographing the body on school grounds, So I think that now being able to bring I Heart Girl, this project that, has its own history and its own story, onto the blockchain, it's kind of allowing it to have a second life and also a renaissance. and a bit of a celebration that, even listening to that video that you play at the top, about, gender and people can get up and go and just be themselves. I feel like we are nearing that, like how much progress has been made in the amount of time since I made that book and then where we are now. So it actually makes me feel pretty optimistic, even though I'm pretty pessimistic. So, yeah.
Man, Jessica, one, thank you for sharing all that. It's awesome to hear the origins of a lot of the work and the drive and exactly what you are pushing for and fighting for, the voices of just, humanity, like in general. But I'm curious of and we're going to get into room 707 and a lot of other things. But as far as the future goes, what are some things that you hope to accomplish, I guess, um, socially, or what are some of your goals pushing towards the future with your art? Is there anything in particular that you see out there that you wish to be change like in the world, or at least playing a part in that? Because that seems to be like a consistent thing. Like you're creating art, but oftentimes a there's a lot of positivity associated with all this social messaging, whether it be gender or
Mhm.
sexuality. Like, just curious of your thoughts on the future of Jessica Yatrofsky and these worlds and these messages.
Yeah. No, that's a great line of questioning. I think that I am an activist, so I'm very interested in being part of a community that cares about representation and expression, and pretty aggressive about continuing to gather with others that want to share their thoughts and ideas and express feelings. With their work and how they show up in the world, and platforming these artists. So with my
Mhm.
feminist collective, pre-pandemic, I was traveling all over the world and I was hosting readings, happenings, activations, even at art fairs, like during Art Basel. And I would, instead of making it about me because I had a book out and doing like, oh, it's me, all about me, I'm just going to have a book signing, I would go to that city and then I would invite other poets to come and read with me. So we would all read, our own material, and then I would have like a musical guest or somebody who would perform at the end or the middle, like it would be an amalgamation of wonderful artists that I would meet in these different cities, and started to build a network that way. And a network of like-minded artists that are so different, that our writing is so different, our expression is so different, but somehow it just worked. And I felt like I was curating a show for myself, where I was being, entertained, like I was the, director of my favorite film. Like that's how it felt with all of these poetry readings and gatherings. And so when I moved into the NFT space, and also, there's a pandemic going on, like there was no traveling. And I thought, I put out some of these collections and I've had a good time and I'm building a new community online. And then I'm also onboarding my community IRL into this space, a lot of artists. And wouldn't it be great if like we could think beyond like the PFP, or like think beyond the NFT? And I was like, well, maybe this is what Web3 is, right? We're building something bigger than ourselves. And how do we do that? We do that with people, and we do that with being aligned with those people. And so I started to get back into like the New York Femme Factory mindset of, well, how could I bring these people together? I can still travel and do it. I can simulcast from like Berlin to New York, or I can be in New York and have a gathering in, the metaverse with a bunch of poets from all around the world. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity here. And We're on the leading edge, and I know we talk a lot about Web3, but I do feel like we're on to something. Like, I don't think we've even seen the full like scope of it yet, but that, we're on the crest of a wave. There are no limits to what artists can create. And, with the metaverse and, with some other things that I mentioned before, but it's just like the endless opportunities to connect with other people, to collaborate. I mean, that's how I met all of you, and we're collaborating, and to work in a cross-disciplinary manner. Like, that's the thing that is so fascinating to me, because I'm known for a certain type of work, but I function as a multidisciplinary artist, or a cross-disciplinary artist, and that's something that I think is extraordinary. And we should be and can be thinking beyond just the way that we produce work and put it out into the world. Like, we should be thinking about, creating movements more so than just like creating art. And art is inherent. Art. Let me not mess this up. Art is inherently political. And I think that when people start to recognize that, and recognize that art is made by artists, and artists are people, that they'll start to catch on to this idea that we can change the world, we create communities, we create the culture, and without it, the world is pretty bleak. So I think I got a little distracted from my own speaking right now, but I think you know where I'm headed. I get very passionate about this, and I think, like, again, to speak when everybody was sort of like living and being mostly at home and working from home, it's like, didn't you live on Netflix? Like, who do you think is responsible for creating all of the stuff that we are entertained by? Like, artists in all ways,
Mhm.
shapes, and forms. So, like, coming into the NFT space, and the way that an outsider would look at what we're doing, or sort of like laughing at, like, well, what does this even mean? Well, it's like, this work that we're seeing the past few years, like these images and pictures and videos and things, represent just a fraction, I think, of what we're going to see exploding in these spaces, which are movements, communities, enclaves, like, you know what I mean? Like, however you want to interpret it, I think you're going to see it. There's just going to be a merging of it and a blending of it that you're not going to even recognize the difference years from now. It's all going to be, like, I think, really well folded in together,
And I want to get
And
Fun Uncle to, if you can pull up the Room 707 stuff, because I think that was what. Yeah, we can talk a little bit about this. But whoa, boy, did you have a specific question?
no, I was saying it's a perfect transition for that because Jessica's been talking about with Fem Factory, when she was giving other poets the opportunity to have their voices heard, and all these other artists a place for them to express themselves. I think that comes into play here, and I think that's part of the intention. So, really excited to hear a bit more about this, Jessica.
Yeah. So I do you want me to talk about 707 a bit?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so Room 707 is a secret society for writers, poets, philosophers, creatives of all type, to gather in private on and off the blockchain. So this is going to be an interesting project. We'll see how it goes, but I'm pretty stoked about it. It's essentially what I've been doing my entire career. And so to be able to kind of define it a little bit more and get it into this space is really exciting for me. Um, so just a little overview of Room 707. It's a virtual space. It will be also in the metaverse. It will sometimes manifest and express in IRL events, in private locations. It's a secret society for artists. And I see it aligning with kind of like an underground place to gather, like a speakeasy. And it's more than an NFT project. It's a movement, and being a part of a movement is a form of activism, which, as you know, I care a great deal about. And it's a form of expansion. And I think on the cutting edge of what I would want to be moving towards with my community in Web3. And, I think that it's going to be interesting to see how I can also meet, amazing new artists in the community that are poets. I have met so many, like, since I've joined the NFT space, and tried to keep in touch, because like now I'm going to be calling on them to participate and to, ask for their assistance in this movement, essentially, and give them a place, like a safe haven to express, gather, and also mobilize. So I didn't write a roadmap. I didn't create a roadmap. I wrote a manifesto. So that's kind of that's how I roll. I write manifestos. And if people want to come along for the ride and they want to call it a roadmap, they're welcome to. But I just think that, this is going to be something really inclusive. It's going to be easier for artists and poets and, all the people that I listed to participate, whereas they might not have been able to before because they couldn't get to a location, or just simply financial constraints. So I have a lot of plans for this project. I want to have like artists in residence in the project. I want to be able to gift keys to some of these individuals. I've personally been onboarding specifically women into the space by just having them come over to my house and like bring your laptop. I mean, like Nifty Castle, they own a lot of your work. So, I'm pretty, as they say, bullish about onboarding women into the NFT space and giving them, the ability to also access that autonomy for themselves online. And I was going to say something else too about 707. I was saying like that we need a safe haven, and not just a place to express our thoughts and our feelings and our ideas, but a place where we can organize and also mobilize in private. I love these public rooms that we host, but kind of making something that is a little bit more sacred, I think, is kind of where see what I did there? That's kind of where I want to be moving towards, is curating something a little bit more intimate and giving people the opportunity to join me on this journey. And somebody that I drew a lot of inspiration from and still do is Virginia Woolf. And I want to read you guys something, because this was part of when I put together my manifesto. I was thinking about her because she wrote this essay, A Room of One's Own. So I like leaned heavily on this line. She says, "Lock up your libraries if you like, but there is no gate, no lock, no bolt that you can set upon the freedom of my mind." So this is the energy that I'm trying to cultivate with 707, and pretty much with everything I put out in the world, with integrity, trying to keep that intact, and platforming artists, representing humans in the space on and off the blockchain, giving people the opportunity to use their own voices to express and create.
Heck yeah. I got some more stuff to jump in, but Lola, I want to give you a chance if you have any questions before I grab the mic again.
Yeah, sure. I do. I'm curious about if you had any experience with pushback in regards to any photographs of models that you've minted, or what was the relationship that you had with models in regards to minting photos of them as a model.
Yeah. So I have an ironclad model release. But before I photograph anybody, we have a discussion about it. And moving that work onto the blockchain, I had a conversation with one person in particular, and that was a friend of mine who had transitioned. And I sent them a copy of the Polaroid. It was a Polaroid specifically. And they were originally in the I Heart Girl series, but they have now since transitioned to male. And I sent this to him, and I just, wanted to say, hey, I'm sharing this work. And he wrote me back and was like, yeah, cool or whatever. But I look so sad in that photo. And like, it almost made me cry. Like, I did start to tear up because I thought, oh no, like he's upset. He doesn't like that he's being represented, or it wasn't about, like he was fine with the photo being published. Like that was not an issue, but it was about like his representation. And so I was like, oh, now I'm thinking in my head, but then because we were texting back and forth, and then he said, no, like this photo to me represents so much because it validates the decisions that I've made. I am so much happier in my skin because I was so unhappy then. And that's essentially like a time capsule of where I was. And it's like the contrast of where I am now. I am so much happier and I love myself. I love my life. And I did not look happy in that photo. And to have that as like proof that I made the right decision is something pretty powerful. And I was just like, wow, like that's why I fucking do what I do. Like I represent people as they come, and these magical things happen. There have been so many, subjects, I call them, in both of the books, and a lot of them, most of them, to your point, Lola, too, they're models, but they're like friends, peers, like people that I met in art school, friends of friends of friends. And some of them, a few of them went on to become like professional models or do like a little art modeling on the side and like get paid for art modeling. But like the reception has been, positive. So I think that it's been very exciting for many people that are part of this book because they feel like they're part of something as opposed to just being like, photographed and sexualized or something like that. Like you'd have to like, really get into the book and see it to understand exactly what I'm talking about. But I think that the way I approached it was these are subjects. They would show up to my house and they did not have to pose nude. They could choose whether they wanted to keep their clothes on or if they wanted to pose nude. That was up to them. And I left that in their court. So a lot of times people would show up and want to just be nude for the photographs because they've never had that experience, or others would show up and, they've shot with, other famous photographers that, that was like their thing. They knew what the deal was, art modeling or, sitting in drawing classes for artists to draw. So the book really has a lot. It's just kind of like a band of misfits, in a lot of ways, like a lot of people in my community. And everyone just kind of came together to make the photographs with me. And in that sense, it feels like pretty collaborative. But in the end, like I am representing them. So I feel a great deal of responsibility to do them justice and to put the work out there. And that's why like putting that work out there at that time was kind of risky because I risked people getting harassed essentially, right? Because they didn't, conform to like, these idyllic beauty standards that we have here. But I think overall, I am very excited about, like I said, having this work on the blockchain now and back out into the world again. And in terms of pushback, the pushback has mainly come from like institutions. Like I had a lot of pushback when I was in school. So I was working on these series when I was still in graduate school, and I was also doing performance art. My thesis was in performance in the male nude. And I mean, talk about like when we were joking before we started the show, childhood trauma. I feel like I had graduate school trauma because I really care about the body and the form, and like have been drawing like since I was a young person, and I care a lot about body politics. And if you look at like classical painting, classical sculpture, it's like there's nothing wrong with the male form. It's beautiful. And as I was working on these performance works at school, I was also creating what I was looking at as like an archive of all of the people that were in my life. And I was creating the first series, I Heart Boy. And when I brought that into a critique, they said, this work is not very interesting. But instead of me going like, oh no, somebody doesn't like this work, I'm going to stop making it, I was like, okay, I'm going to keep making this work, but I'm just not going to show it to you because you're not the right audience for this work. And being a photographer, an artist that's creating a survey, you can't really like break that that kind of like meditative systematic approach you have to it. It's like you're obsessed with it. You keep doing it. You want to keep going back. There's more subjects, more people are texting you, more people are emailing you. And so I just amassed this large archive, and I couldn't stop shooting it because I really loved and cared about these series that I was creating. And so I just stopped showing it in critique, and I went along my merry way. And I mean, I did almost get kicked out of school because I was photographing a male nude on the premises. But we don't have to get into that. Let's just say that if you go to Parsons now, there's a lot of rules and laws in place because of what I did. I broke some rule that wasn't even a rule. And that showed me that, oh, okay, I'm onto something, right? Because you should go to school to break rules and to fuck up. Like that's the whole purpose, like why would you want to go into an art program and color inside the lines? Like you're supposed to use that time to experiment, to learn, to break barriers, and to hopefully trailblaze, right? So after that experience, I had all of this work and I went to a publisher. And I just brought a box of Polaroids. I also brought a disc of all of the images that I had been photographing. And the publisher, they took the Polaroids and they just spread them all out on the table. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, what do you want to look at the disc? And he's like, no, I don't need to see the disc. I love this work. Let's do it. Let's make this into a book. So the work that was rejected in the institution was celebrated commercially. And then it went back into the fine art world. And then I'm invited back to school to talk about that work and to talk to students about that journey. So it's just really strange, but I think what it speaks for is don't let people tell you what to do and what not to do. And if you really love something, keep working on it, but maybe learn to work the system a little bit, because I didn't want to get kicked out of school, but they didn't want to see this work anymore. It was, I don't know, not interesting to them, as they put it so kindly. But I went and took it somewhere else, because I always say this thing: if someone's telling you no, you're talking to the wrong person. I was talking to the wrong person. They were the wrong audience. Do I like the rest of my experience I had in graduate school? Yeah, everything else was cool, but they didn't like that work, and that's fine. I'm not for everyone. Everyone is not for me. So moving in the world with that work was interesting, because I got pushed back at school with that work, but in the real world, I did not get pushback. I was embraced. But then when I came out with the second book, which was I Heart Girl, I got pushback in terms of like beauty standards with women. So now that that's kind of a popular topic for women to be pushing, boundaries with their appearance and like how they show up in the world, it's exciting to see. And I feel very, very, again, optimistic.
Yeah. Well, and that brings it back full circle, right? To now you are going to be the first woman photographer or first photographer, one of the two, first photographer, first woman photographer on Coinbase NFT, which is a huge deal. Like that's a really big deal. And it's because of this work and, sticking to your guns and all of the stuff that you just shared, which is amazing. I have to also make a personal note, which is that you and I should, I'll have to share with you my story of almost getting kicked out of pre-college at Ringling School of Art and Design for breaking some rules. And now, well, actually just for being myself and pushing the limits. And now there's a bunch of rules that were instituted because of me
Nice.
at Ringling School of Art and Design. Yeah, they might have to do with co-ed room situations. We'll see. We can talk about that another time.
Nice.
But anyway, some of the things that you were talking about were, you're obviously an activist, very focused on gender politics, educating and onboarding women into Web3. And these are some of the reasons why we're so grateful and excited that you are a leader on the Witchy GF team with us building this project as well, right? Which is focused on empowering women artists in the space. It is very much focused about waging war against gender inequity in Web3, right? I mean, and we're going to be doing a lot more of that together. But I'd love to hear. We can pull up Fun Uncle if you want to pull up her witch. You've got a custom witchy. You are the sacred witch, the sacred sister. You're core to the lore of the Witchy GF project, and then also we can pull up the overview video that you collaborated with Sketch Nate on as well. And I'd love to maybe even just get, some of your high level thoughts about the Witchy GF project and then what it was like collaborating on this video, maybe after we play it.
So you want to buy a Witchy GF? All right. Well, even if you're not new to NFTs, sometimes getting one can be confusing, but I'll make it easy for you, okay, Silly? But first, let's talk about where these witches come from. If you're familiar with the deebies, then you already know the drill, but this time we've gone bigger, like way bigger. Like it's at least 2 times bigger, if not more. It's huge. The Witchy GFs are 7,890 unique animated avatars comprised of over 800 banana-drawn traits in 12 different categories, including special accessories, magic circles, and familiars. Even cooler, the magic circles are animated, with more attributes being animated as the project expands. Oh. There's 28 specially designed queens of their style of magic, being the most rare and powerful. Over 1,500 of the witches are divided into the competing factions, the Sacred Circle and the Wicked Circle. The remaining witches are the maidens. The rarest of them are sprinkled throughout the collection like magic, so anyone could get them. Even her. Right? Look at her. No, I'm just kidding, but you could get one. Using your witch, you could participate in the battle game Coven Clash that pits you against other witches competing to win prizes. Go ahead, beat the crap out of each other.
Okay, mister. I'll take it from here. Listen, the Witchy GFs were created by Nifty Castle, an NFT community staple, and Sketchnate, a silly goose. Our greater team is made up of community members you can trust who are building for the long term. This isn't just a new project, it's an expansion on the Nifty Castle ecosystem. Holding a deebie acts like a token that allows access to added bonuses. Furthermore, we want to use our reach to empower women and spotlight female-identifying artists. We're creating opportunities for these community members like our Witchy GF collaboration series, live gallery events, and philanthropy.
Okay. Now it's time to mint. First, make sure you have your MetaMask wallet ready with at least 0.0678 Ethereum in it. Head over to niftycastle.io and tap the button to mint. Our contract significantly lowers gas by roughly 70%, so you don't have to waste your ETH. That's like science, I think. And that's it. Once your wallet confirms the transaction, you've got a Witchy GF. Treat her well, and watch out for those spells.
We look forward to seeing you in the Nifty Castle Discord.
I love you.
Oh my gosh.
What a vibe. I love that.
That's so good.
I'm dressed like my witchy, too. So funny.
Yeah.
True.
Nate nailed
Also, I
it.
just want to mention, 100%. But also, you know who else nailed it? Lola here and yourself, Jessica, because Lola For anyone that doesn't know, the music in the background, that's her. She put that
Yeah.
together. And
Pew pew pew.
Jessica rocks some voiceovers too. So her voice, yeah,
Sounded
you
great.
Nate said it was you like I think you did one take of it, and then there was a couple notes, and then it was just perfect. He was like, "That's amazing." So you, Jessica,
Cool.
you can do, in my eyes, you can do, like we were mentioning before. You're a do-it-all artist, multidisciplinary, and
Mhm.
that's just another. It's further evidence of that. So
That was so fun to do. Like, I love getting a script, but I actually had Sketch Nate. I said, I want to hear how you read it so I can match his tempo. And as soon as like it like clicked right away when I heard his voice. And that was just really fun because I think before I was reading his parts too, and he probably got that file and was like, what is wrong with this person? They're reading all my parts. But yeah, he sent it over what he read and then I went and read it back. So sorry, Sketch Nate. But yeah, that was really fun. Yeah, the witchy GF. Oh man, this is this is just the beginning of this journey, I feel like. So I don't even know where to start. I met you guys in New York during NFT NYC, the first one I attended. Apparently, there's thousands of people there, and the year before there was like 500. So if that just can describe to your audience like the exponential growth in this space and how quickly things have been growing, it's just like it's been just it feels like a positive fever dream that we met, and then you showed me this project and I was like, oh, 100%. I think like I was sitting with Sarah Script and you were talking to both of us and I was like, oh, I'm on board like 100%. And I love what the Nifty Castle represents and what you guys stand for. And I was like, I want to be part of this, of course. Like, why wouldn't I, and like being part of like the hackathons and like being like a DB dolphin. I'm not quite a whale. I don't have, hundreds of DBs in my wallet, but I have a pretty I'm a DB dolphin. Yeah, you just heard that here. I just coined that, DB dolphin. And I really love what you guys bring in terms of community when people like throw that word around community. What does that actually look like? And I think that you guys are really, I get to say we are showing everyone what that is, and it's doing things in the space, bringing them in IRL, mixing, mingling, bringing people together, getting people really excited, getting people interested in art. I know we've been all excited about the Women's Invitational. I don't know when this is going up, but is this aligned with the Women's Invitational? But if not,
I mean, we
like,
can talk about it either way, right? I mean, that's
mhm,
one of the first platforms that we're creating that is focused on this mission and vision about empowering women artists, right? And so,
mhm,
um, this is a big thing that we are, ramping into right now. We actually were just going through a bunch of the amazing, submissions from women artists. And so this first showcase is March 31st. So this episode might go up just a little bit after it. But either way, you're a big part of helping us put this together as well, and some of the other initiatives that this is about. And yeah, it's great to talk about that. And I'm super excited to see everyone come out and support these amazing women. Like you, Jessica, like Lola, and then so many others from the community that have submitted and will be participating.
yeah, I'm super stoked. I'm making a witch too. I hope it comes out. Making a derivative, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited to see where this is going to go. I think that the artwork is really strong. It's really beautiful, and also giving women in the space an opportunity to have a platform to share their work is something that I'm really passionate about personally. I'm really passionate about collaboration. I think that having a team with women on it is essential. I think if you want to succeed in a space like this, because to me, I look at women representing community. I mean, as a woman, I'm very social. I talk a lot, as you guys are probably realizing from this interview now and semi regretting. but I think that that's how we communicate to other people. Hey, this is important, like check this out. And I use a one-to-one technique. I just text people, I call them on the phone, I call them forward and ask them, to be part of what I see as Web3 and get them into the space. And, I, as myself, want to learn more. And I think me being able to jump on this team, I've learned so much from you guys in the short time that I've been on the team. And I think like that's what it's all about. Like, I stay on the meetings, you see me, and it's just like this part doesn't necessarily concern me, but like I want to learn, and then I want to be able to take that information and share it with other people. Not the stuff that I sign an NDA about, but you know what I mean? Like, how these things can work and like how it can benefit women being in the space and them actually being able to harness this knowledge and then use it for the purposes of, their own success in the space. So I absolutely love it. You guys are awesome. And, having women on the team also to talk with and to co-create with has been really rewarding. And I mean, look at all of our wedges. Like, how cute are they? I mean, and, I've met Lola, I've met Pepper, I hope to meet Faith, and I hope to meet Crystal. I think it's going to be awesome. I really was thinking, I was like, can you send us on a retreat together? Just the women? Is that possible? I think that would be cool. Just putting it out there, just putting you right on the spot.
Second that.
But yeah, just giving women the opportunity to be part of this project, I think is the way. And because, Nifty Castle to me represents, being a pillar of the community. Like, yeah, like you guys are trailblazing. Now I get to say we're trailblazing, and it can only get better.
Yeah, well, y'all are both key parts of this, and like I would love to talk about the retreat idea because it's great to have 6 women, more women than men on the team, but we want to encourage more leadership, right? Like we don't want it to just be like oh, we've got some women that are this and that. Like how do we give y'all more responsibility and support y'all as leaders in the space as well, right? So that's going to be some of the next conversations that we're having, and so I'm just really, really excited for everything that we're doing, and yeah, I think a retreat could be a cool idea. So let's talk about that. But yeah, thank you,
really cool.
Jessica, for everything that you do for the space, everything that you're doing with the Witchies and the deebies, and just being such an amazing part of this community with us, and for all the awesome art that you're creating and sharing it all with us. So just props to you. All of the links are going to be in the description, by the way, so go check her out, check out her work. Room 707. Yes, check. Yes, everybody get on the description.
Yeah,
everybody check out Room 707. Check out Pink Privacy if you haven't. Get yourself some poetry NFTs. They're absolutely awesome. I was actually going to selfishly ask if you would read one of your poems, since we've got you with a nice mic and on video. Maybe that'll be like our outro. So maybe we can do like a quick, any last words, and then we can kind of wrap up the whole episode.
Let me grab it. It's like the book is right here. Hang on. Amazing. Can I walk away?
Yeah, if you want. Why not? We can pop Fun Uncle in there. We can pop Fun Uncle in there for a minute and check in on him. Funky, let's get an intermission.
Making sure I'm not muted this time. Taking my taking an extra moment to make sure I'm not muted.
We learn.
I'm advancing every day. But no,
Evolving.
Jessica is awesome. I haven't said this to you yet, but like, I love your tweets. Every time I see a tweet from you, I crack up a little bit. Like, I remember there's one that was like, I smell sexism. And I like, that was a really funny tweet. Yeah. I had to give you props for that.
What's funny is that, prior to being in the NFT space, I would just tweet, kind of, poetically but like my work is very like cutting. It's like quick and dirty. And now when I put out those quick and dirty tweets, I get messages from people going, "Are you okay? Is everything okay? Is somebody bothering you?" And I'm like, "No, I'm fine. I'm just doing my work." And I think they get confused a little bit because I have a very specific way of like communicating through poetry, and it feels like maybe, you know, they need to check on if I'm okay or not, but I'm totally fine. No, I'm not. So I'll read you a poem called Tweet Tweet. Speaking of Twitter. All right. Tweet Tweet.
Apropos.
Very apropos. Tweet Tweet. Swipe me, finders keep. Deeply creepy. Like. Fingers scroll me way down. Double tap that ass. Tightly tag starred. Browse my emojis 1,000. Video views, no commenting. Tell me in person. Keep hunting. See me screen waves, addiction, expand, thumb and pointer finger, on all fours, tips clicking. Sending every picture in my camera, roll me over again and again. Pick me up, IRL, birdie baby, DM into my inbox and rewatch.
Woo!
That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the snaps. Yeah.
Thanks for
having me,
listening.
guys.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Thanks
say
for taking
thank
the
you.
time.
Yeah, and I just
Yeah.
want to say one more thing, parting words, that I just want to encourage artists and creators to keep collaborating and to keep being inspired and uplifted by one another, because if artists and if women, specifically humans, continue to work in the shadows, maybe they fail and maybe they fall into obscurity and maybe they even quit. And so let's not do that. Like I said, I care a lot about autonomy, and I also care a lot about not replicating these inequities in the space. And I think that, you know, I want to encourage people to be driven by change and evolution and being an active part of those numbers shifting. So we need to unite and mobilize. And if we don't see our people here in the space, let's fucking onboard them. Pew, pew, pew.
Those are some
Absolutely.
amazing closing comments. And Jessica Yatrofsky, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for chilling with us, the Nifty Castle crew. Whoa boy, Lola Menthol, Funkle, the man, Fun Uncle, the bus driver up there. You've been hanging out. This has been another awesome episode of Art Starting Now, and it wouldn't be the same without each and every one of y'all tuning in and chilling with us. Check out all of Jessica's work down in the comments, and shout out to her one last time, Jessica Yatrofsky. We are so stoked to have you and have you part of the Witchy GF team as well. So with that, I'm going to go back to my mental health retreat. We still got one day left. Tomorrow's the last day, and we did karaoke last night, and tonight we're gonna go see Incubus and then do some stargazing. We're gonna go out in the middle of the night, out into the desert, and see the Milky Way. So I'm gonna go do that, and yes, we will catch you on the flip side every Saturday here on Lad City Network, and that's it.